Are you ready for genuine revelations on the future of WoW? Well, I've got good news for you then. Over the course of 7 expansions, we have sorted out the Legion, right? But we've spent maybe more time campaigning against and finally clearing Azeroth of a far more insidious threat, the Old Gods. Or so we thought. I mean, when Azeroth went down so easily in BFA, quite a few of us scratched our heads, especially because of some oddly prophetic things that he said. Today, we can actually re-engage in that. For a discovery on the Forbidden Reach, coming in World of Warcraft's next patch, has set an important part of WoW's canon actually back on track. There is a 5th god, a 5th old god on Azeroth, and we should have almost no idea what or where they are. Except, we do kind of have a few theories. And finally, there is huge evidence that what we've previously called, in decades of speculation, the backside of Azeroth, that it is real and that we may even go there soon. Like how you should go to today's sponsor. Gotcha, it's actually us. So look, guys, there's really big news. The Pale Beyond, which is the game that we've been developing for the last while, it's actually coming out in just 10 days, which is kind of terrifying. Here it is in a deck, which is neat, but people have really loved the demo, and just from all our testing so far, I think we're really headed for a great launch. Yeah, the game is on Steam. If you'd like to check it out, consider wishlisting it on Steam. That truly does help us out a great deal. And if you want a taste of the game, then you can play a 2-hour-long demo for the prologue right now. It's a slightly older build, but you'll get the gist. And over on the Bellular Studios YouTube channel, we've actually dropped a 1-hour-long ambient soundtrack mix, which, yeah, a lot of people are enjoying. So, there we go. It is insane that we're almost at launch. Like, here I am with it running in a deck, which is mad. Yeah, look, obviously we love your support, so I guess thank you for considering. And with that said, let's get back to the video. Today's discovery comes from a book that we've spotted in the Forbidden Reach on the PTR. But the book's origin is far older than Dragonflight. The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth. It's a tome that we actually found in a few places 17, 18 years ago in vanilla. And it serves as the foundation of what we know about the world. It tells us the story of how the Titans destroyed the evil Black Empire, chained the Old Gods beneath Azeroth, created the Well of Eternity, and shaped the beautiful world that we all got lost in. It's actually even older than vanilla though. Actually, it's a slightly updated version of a text from the very beginning in Warcraft 3's manual. In terms of canonicity, it was Word of God telling us background lore, and of course we all believed it. This book, though, is full of notes, the new version. It's the same book, but it's full of notes that are scribbled on the margins, and those notes call it bullshit. They're written emotionally, angrily, almost with a scoff. The Titans are called pathetic for not realizing Sargeras' betrayal earlier. It attacks the narrative that the Black Empire was evil. Evil, according to whom? It says, it was the Titans who maligned the glory of the Black Empire. Glory sounds cool. The scrolls attack the words of every page on this ancient tome, asserting that the Titans were just jealous of the Black Empire, the most impressive of existence, and that they tore it asunder for that reason, lamenting with a scowl that history is written by the victor, boasting the elementals and the old gods that they didn't go down without a fight, and that the Titans' peace is actually oppression. It may just be some raving cultist, really salty about the Titans' victory, but, of course, there may be a lick of truth to these notes. We can only really do them justice by calling them revelations, though. Even the resurgence of this book itself is a massive hint from Blizzard, one that might even be the reversal of a mistake, the fixing of a retcon. The original text of the book says, "The Pantheon shattered old gods' citadels and chained the 5 evil gods far beneath the surface of the world. Cthulhu in Silithus, Yogg-Saron in Northrend, Yasharj's heart in Pandaria, and N'Zoth in the deep sea." But wait, that's 4. To be honest, because there was no sign of it, most of us just sort of forgot about the 5th old god that was originally mentioned in the book, and we kind of thought Blizzard had done the same. Especially since Chronicle said, after they defeated the third old god Cthulhu, there was only one left. But by this stage, we do know that Chronicle isn't exactly reliable, you know, Titan perspective and all that stuff. But now that they've drawn attention to the fact that Chronicle itself, when it came out, retconned an older piece of lore, I think that's Blizzard wanting us to remember something. Right now, there is one known prime candidate for a fifth old god, and thanks to us, they're roaming the cosmos free. Xal'atath, imprisoned in the blade of the Black Empire and discovered by us in Legion, the artifact weapons lore that we discover through that expansion says that she may have been the remnants of a long-forgotten old god consumed in the early days of the Black Empire. She herself says that she was betrayed by her kin.
We may face some of my brethren in this conflict, a prospect that delights me. Their power will be mine. They will pay for what was done to me long ago.
Yeah, she's clearly pissed. Kind of interesting, though. I mean, is the enemy of an enemy our friend, or not? But she may not be the fifth. After all, there is an inconsistency that you've noticed here that suggests somebody is lying. Xal'atath allegedly was consumed in the early days of the Black Empire, and the blade itself is of an old god origin, lost during the Sundering, but otherwise, you know, roaming around Azeroth doing dark shenanigans. Now, that means that she would not have been imprisoned by the Titans, as is said in The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth. Perhaps she wouldn't even be known to the Titans. Who knows what's going on there? We'll have to find out the truth, of course, when she inevitably returns to the game in some form of void expansion that was recently hinted at. But the thing is, besides Xal'atath, there are other possibilities, and more revelations from our annotated book, like the Back of Azeroth. A fifth old god is one thing, but Blizzard may have finally given us the wink wink nudge nudge about an entire part of the world that we've only ever imagined. Look at this map. This is what we've been told the world looks like. In the version of history we've been told, in this lore book, the Titans made giants to shape the Earth, creating the perfect continent, calling it Kalimdor. But the apparent raving madman who's been writing notes in the margins of the Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth calls the author either a fool or a liar, accusing them of spreading Titan propaganda or being ignorant of what lies beyond the waves. What does lie beyond the waves? I've always wondered. Well, we wondered until Dragonflight. I mean, every place on Azeroth has been part of Kalimdor until the Sundering. The Dragon Isles is actually the first place that's a true, island that wasn't a part of that supercontinent, right? And there's also a very odd thing that's happened. Have you noticed how Kalimdor was suspiciously moved on the world map for Dragonflight, seemingly making some space for something in the future? I mean, sure, maybe it's a new elf tree, but Dragonflight has actually teased a whole new location related to things the Titans would have wanted to keep a secret. Now, we've got to talk about everybody's favorite dickhead, Odin. He is the one who led the disinformation campaign and covered all this stuff up. He demanded that all references to the Black Empire's advancements be purged, for all documents are to claim now that it was an age of evil and chaos, and that certainly is the history that we all, as little baby characters in Azeroth, grew up knowing. Almost certainly then part of some Titan or maybe some Keeper propaganda. But there's more. We've seen more of Odin's classified documents found within hidden vaults of Uldaman, including a report on failed military expeditions. In the hunt for some heretics who have committed some heinous crimes against the Titan Keepers, Odin sent his armies in search for a place named Avalorn. 3 out of 4 expeditions washed up on the shores of Kalimdor. That's pre-Sundering Kalimdor, again proving that there were other lands, other continents. Avalorn in particular was home to these heretics who were powerful enough to kill Keepers, kill Titan Forged, and escape Odin's might. Now, if Odin was to call anyone a heretic, it would likely be the mortals that Odin quite clearly despised and distrusted, or even some Titan Forged or Keepers who ended up being allied with the Old Gods, which, given Loken, is not an insane thing to have happen. So, Avalorn, and by the way, you've got to check out the video that we last did on lore. It's about the humans. It does cover Avalorn. I'd say this. Avalorn, Avalon, they seem kind of similar. There is an Avalon within World of Warcraft, but it's called New Avalon, which makes me say to you, well, how do you have New York without there being a place called York? Worth thinking about. Check the video out. It'll add some color to this one. Anyway, Avalorn, a land of heretics kept secret by the Titan Keepers and nowhere to be seen in our maps, be they modern or be they ancient. If that is not the perfect place for a fifth old god to stay hidden, then what is? But the revelations from the book do not end there, so stay strapped in. At the continent's center, the Titans crafted a font of scintillating energy. The lake, which they named the Well of Eternity, was to be the font of life for the world. Its potent energies would nurture the bones of the world and empower life to take root in the land's rich soil. Or, if the anti-Titan lunatic friend that we've made in the margins of this notebook would say, quote, "The Titans wounded the world with their recklessness, then insisted it was done by design. Preposterous! It was the old gods who nurtured the flesh of this world, not the Titans." He's quite a spicy fellow. So we've known for years, right, that the Well of Eternity was not just created, oh la-di-da, lovely, by the Titans. No, it was an accident from Amthul reaching down to the world with his giant celestial body and ripping Yisharj out of its, well, crust, but in the process leaving a wound, a great wound in the world that would then be called the Well of Eternity, for the literal lifeblood of Azeroth is what would nurture the lands around it. So, the reveal here that our writer claims the old gods nurtured Azeroth is not particularly absurd. In whatever history, wherever it may come from, be it Titan Keeper in this book, clearly the actual Well of Eternity story is changed, which is basically something that casts doubt on the veracity of this book, originally found in Vanilla and Warcraft 3, that we've really known is incorrect since Mists of Pandaria. Kind of interesting. I'd also like to note flesh. Oh yes, flesh. Flesh is what our raving madman says in the margins of this book. And it's an interesting word because, of course, of the curse of flesh, right? That's from the old gods, and the curse of flesh is the origin of most mortals on Azeroth. Was Odin, then, trying to hide the primordial races of Azeroth, like the proto-drakes and the trolls, essentially to hide how they came to be? You look at a proto-drake in World of Warcraft, right? It's a fleshy, gnarly dude. But per the lore, dragons initially descended from elements. Now, how do you make the evolutionary leap from being a rock to being fleshy? The curse of flesh is consistently what it has been. Be it Vrykul, which of course comes from the Titan-forged constructs of the Keepers. Or, if we think about the Tauren, I think it's pretty likely that the Tauren have a curse of flesh, basically nature. The Shu'halo are seemingly the progenitor of the Tauren, right? That we learn of in Eyes of the Earth Mother, which is a part of the Tauren's mythology, their understanding of their own place within Azeroth, and just the general, like, cosmic kind of understanding, right, of their religion. Now, Shu'halo translates to children of the soil. Sounds rather elemental to me, right? Ungoro Crater and Sholazar Basin led us to believe that the Titans experimented and birthed life, and that the Emerald Dream's blueprint for Azeroth was them bringing animals to life via wild gods. But evidence has been mounting that there's just more to the story. Basically, the Titans are kind of taking a lot of credit for stuff they didn't do, including life itself. You know, they arrive in the scene, they see what chaos there is, and they try to polish it up and make it their own. That's what they do as beings of order. Now, all that being said, so far, I've got to be honest, I've been pulling a fast one. I've kind of been lying to you, because I've been acting like whoever wrote these notes in the margin of this book is some completely untrustworthy lunatic. Now it's time to talk about who it probably is. So, this book is from Neltharion's private collection, which kind of suggests that he wrote them. The notes have got the same character as the ramblings of a Twilight cultist. They speak with a certainty, anger like somebody raging against the lies they've been brought up to believe. They read like a mind that is starting to fall to madness, you know? They're clear, they're sensible, but a bit insane. They're full of snark. They're smug. They have real knowledge. If Deathwing is the one who wrote these, then it offers us a glimpse into who he was when he was still Neltharion, around the time he made the Drakthir, when he was fed anti-Titan truths, or maybe old god lies, and the beginning of the spiral in his mental state that would lead to him being the madman that we had to put down. Now, I have one final revelation from this book. The passage reads, "As twilight fell on the final day of their labors, the Titans named the continent Kalimdor, land of eternal starlight." To this, Neltharion, or whoever wrote these responses, replied with snark, "Ah yes, the Titans' final erasure of the wonders that once existed. They even stole away the land's true name and replaced it with one of their own." True name. That could simply be the name that the Black Empire gave to the land. And some people may say, wow, what's Steve Denuser done this time? He's went and retconned the name of Kalimdor? I wouldn't necessarily say so. I live in a place that we currently call Ireland, but it was called Hibernia by the Romans. What's its first name? It's Hibernia. Did we retcon something when we started to call it Ireland? I wouldn't particularly think so. And when we're talking about a big secondary world like that of Warcraft, we've got to have room for history and change over history. The tense here is that there's essentially an entire age of wonders erased by Titan propaganda that we've yet to think about, yet to discover, and to get there, we may have to find a fifth old god, and probably on another continent, perhaps one that is on the other side of Azeroth. Make no mistake, this is Blizzard truly setting up a future of Warcraft in a way that we have not seen before. Now, I know the Dragonflight just started, but I hope you're as excited for the 11.0 announcement as I am. I love how this lore is expanding. It is expanding via, I mean, let's be real, an underwritten character getting character. Deathwing looked cool in the cinematic, but he was just a big evil dragon dickhead, right? He was an underwritten character. We're kind of used to those existing within the canon of Warcraft, but to actually see more of who Neltharion was, what took him on the journey that he went to, how was the burden that the Titans put on him rather unfair, especially considering they may not have given him complete information. What did he think when he actually found out the truth? This gives us an opportunity to understand, connect with, to empathize with the character of Neltharion, and that, everybody, is really the reason why you look at Cataclysm, you see Deathwing, he's a lame villain, even though he looks cool. But you look at Wrath of the Lich King and Arthas and you think, man, that's a cool villain, because you can empathize with Arthas. You know how he came to be the way that he was. And I think that the more that we actually learn about this character's backstory as we explore the Dragon Isles, as we perhaps go into patch 10.1, which I think will be very much dealing with the legacy of Neltharion, this retroactively makes him a better character because, frankly, he wasn't a very good character to begin with. So it's nice to see that with him obviously having a role in the development of Azeroth that can never be taken back, for it is so large, it makes sense therefore that we actually grow him and expand him and make him a fully rounded person that players can understand and connect with. And if in the process of that we can then have a sensible expansion of the lore that makes the history of Azeroth far more deep and rich, full of mystery, full of incredible things lost to time that we can only hope to discover, then that is what makes this a secondary world that inspires adventure and sparks the imagination. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I highly recommend you check out our video about basically how Blizzard are doing a similar thing with the origin of humanity and making the humans of Warcraft, who generally would have been the boring foil that you and me are supposed to understand because we are humans, and actually is giving them real good backstory. Very interesting stuff. So check out that video next if you want some entertainment. Of course, support today's sponsor if you want to support the show. With that, have a brilliant day, and I'll see you next time.